Something very bad has happened in the world of DC Comics, and it's all thanks to Dan Dido. You want to know what they did? Spoilers! They made Tim Drake a duck! A duck! What's happening, Gothamites? K-Wing here, and today we're talking about Red Robin's new superhero identity going forward in DC Comics. And yes, it's a permanent thing that isn't changing anytime soon. Even with time and Nightwing returning to the Bat books in 2020, so we may as well get used to... I don't even want to say the name because it's ridiculous. You know, they say there's no such thing as bad press. Well, there is such a thing as ridiculous press, which I wish could be bad. So in case you've been living under a rock for a while, Tim and Cassie, aka Wonder Girl, the 90s version, brought back the old Young Justice team after an attack in Metropolis by some aliens in BENDIS relaunch of Young Justice. This also marked the return of Connor Kent to DC Comics as well. And, you know, Superboy from Pre-52. It's like, where's he been? Nobody knows. Unlike a lot of DC books, Young Justice's stories are just fun superhero adventures. Lots of action, some witty banter between the characters, an established relationship. Think of it like a fun romp through 90 stories, heavily inspired by the comics that I grew up with. And for the most part, everybody has loved that. Which was the case until about 2 weeks ago. During some time travel shenanigans, Tim Drake met his evil doppelganger from the future. Seriously? Again, DC? That's like the third time, isn't it? I mean, we had the Titans of Tomorrow in pre-Flashpoint, or as they're known, Murder Titans, with a Batman, Tim Drake, that liked using a gun that basically killed his step-grandparents, the Waynes. Clearly he had issues, but his costume was pretty cool. Though he was, like, you know, a bit unhinged. Of course, our Tim won in the end, but in the back of his mind, the Murder Titans plagued him, and it was a story arc that kind of played off and on till the New 52, where everything was reset in 2011. Fast forward to DC Rebirth after Detective Comics writer James Tynion, I believe, the fourth, brought back Tim Drake as Red Robin with a sweet costume nod to 90s Chuck Dixon run. He also brought back an evil alternate Tim Drake from the future, who was out to kill Batwoman this time for murdering Bruce Wayne and creating a fascist future society. Okay. Tim once again beats his evil self. Kind of. Although, well, this evil Tim kind of sacrifices himself with some reality-altering hijinks and creates a paranoid Tim Drake who eventually quits the Bat family and for a time turned into Brother Eye. Well, James has a lot of love for the Bat family in the 90s, but he also really enjoys time travel and sci-fi elements as well. So, his run on Batman in 2020 is going to be very interesting. Oh, but you can also thank him for Grayson's return to the Nightwing identity in 2020 as well. Bless this man, hopefully. Anyway, back to Bendis's Young Justice run. So recently, after facing another evil version of Tim Drake from the future and multiverse, Tim, once he defeats himself, decides it's time to change up his superhero identity again, and he becomes a terrifying duck man. More or less. Yes, Tim Drake becomes the Drake, thus fulfilling the dangers of time travel and more or less creating the Drake bad guy from the future, or not. I don't know. Time travel is very confusing. His costume is very bad, though. Think of it like Red Robin fell into some brown paint and then visited the world of Tron. I mean, more or less, that's what it is. It just looks terrible. The Drake costume from his evil other actually looked way cooler, and I kind of wish that they stuck to that color scheme. Instead of a Robin, it had a D on the chest for Drake, and the mask kind of looked like a duck. An evil duck. He also had a cowl like the Pre-52 Red Robin, but it was, again, shaped like a duck. Bendis, I don't get you. You had one job. Oh, you want to know my honest feelings on this? Okay. Why am I upset about this? Well, there's a lot of reasons, but let's take a little trip in our time machine, shall we? So we can go back to whenever Dan Didio is opening his mouth and telling us stupid stuff, okay? So, many years ago, in order to ease fans' worries about whenever a crisis loomed its ugly head, or, you know, some type of event where a DC character was going to bite the dust. Usually it's a crisis event. I mean, that's usually DC's go-to pass to kill a large group of characters is a crisis. Luckily, we don't have to worry about anything like that for the time being. So, I'm kind of resting a little easily, but still, my big concern with all of this is Timmy Boy is no longer a Robin. Now, what does this mean? This means a lot of things, okay? Okay, gang? So years ago, Dido, in his infinite wisdom, said these words. Robins are safe in a crisis. He's tried to kill Robins before, but he hasn't been successful. And even when they killed Damian came back. When they got rid of Dick Grayson during Forever Evil, Dick Grayson came back as a super spy. Tim Drake kind of died in DC Rebirth, but not really. He was vaporized onto a spaceship, and even at the end of the episode, they showed him inside of a spaceship. So it wasn't like a gotcha to the audience that, we killed Tim Drake. No, that didn't happen. But now that Timmy Boy is no longer a Robin, I can't help but hear Dan Dido's words clearly screaming in my mind right now. Robins are safe. So what is Tim Drake right now? He's a duck! He's a duck! You know what this means? This means DC is gonna kill Tim Drake. I don't know when. I don't know how. All I know is DC's gonna kill Tim Drake! Okay? So yeah. That, internet, is my, honest-to-God thoughts about Tim Drake being a duck. It's not him taking on a new superhero persona that just scares me to death. No. It's that it's further proof that DC Comics has no idea what to do with Tim Drake. And by making him a duck, it's not giving us an option for having a long-standing new costumed identity for Tim Drake like we had with Nightwing, or even when he was Red Robin. Did you know that he was actually Red Robin from 2009 until basically 2019? So he already was his own separate superhero identity. DC making him a duck is just so you can go duck hunting! That's all this is! You can call me crazy, internet. Oh, you can call me insane, but guess what? I know how DC thinks. I know how Dido thinks. And Dido is saying it's duck season! That's what he's saying! So yeah. Tim Drake, mark my words, because he's a duck, it means duck season. And that, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, is my honest thoughts on Tim Drake being the Drake. Thanks so much for watching. I need to go do something fun because I hate comics right now. I just can't. I just don't. I really